you ever feel like your emotions are running the show? A lot of us do, because we're letting them run the show. Whether you are a stuffer and then you can't stuff forever, like you explode at some point, or if you're a runner, like you're just like, nope, I'm out of here. Either way, they're kind of controlling our lives. And I don't believe that we're meant to be controlled by anything other than the Holy Spirit. So emotions are a normal part of our human experience. I believe that God gave them to us, but we don't have to be controlled by them. And I'm going to show you how not to be controlled by them. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. In the first video, which I will drop a link for that in the show notes, we talked about buffering, which is anything that you use to avoid feeling an emotion or dealing with a situation. It could be scrolling, Amazon shopping, eating, sleeping, daydreaming, wandering around your house. There's all kinds of buffers. In and of themselves, they're not usually a bad thing, but when they're used to numb out or avoid, they start to cause problems, and we really want to be aware of those. Go back to video 1 if you're like, oh my goodness, I have a scrolling problem, or I'm on a first name basis and I know my Amazon drivers. We talked about sitting and allowing the emotion and how to do that. So today I'm going to give you 2 more tips so you get started in this journey. I guess I should introduce myself first. You're like, who is this lady? Hi, my name is Kate Wood. I am a Christian life coach, an emotional intelligence coach, a mom of 5. I love helping women deal with overwhelm, deal with emotions, deal with stress, so that they can live more joyful and authentic lives. In video 1, I mentioned this is not for the wimpy. Not that it's a scary, terrible thing. It's, again, a normal part of life. But I'm proud of you for being here and checking out this video and just exploring what it might look like to allow your emotions instead of running or stuffing. Tip number 3 is that you're gonna ride the wave, knowing that it won't last forever. Usually our emotions kind of go like this and they come down, but as we're going up the wave, we're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna last forever. And it'll never end. And that's a lie. I struggle with anxiety, and I have gathered lots of tools and gotten coached on it myself. That's why I love helping women deal with it, because I know how bad a panic attack feels. I know how crappy thoughts that just won't seem to go away feel like, that nervousness, that feeling of danger, hypervigilance, that's a hard word to say, like feeling on guard all the time. I know how bad all those things feel firsthand, okay? But it is a wave, and a lot of emotions are the same. As we're watching it build, it's easy for the enemy to trick us, or our own brains, into thinking this will never end, it will rise forever, I may die. Like, we can start to think pretty catastrophically. Riding the wave, it takes practice, doesn't it? It does eventually peak, and then it does eventually come down. The trick is knowing it is not going to last forever. Let me say though, if you have been down for a long time, that is when it's time to call on your mental health and physical health care team, your spiritual health care team, and reach out to somebody. A coach can help, a licensed counselor, a psychologist, your pastor, healthcare provider, or naturopath. Seek out help, and you don't need to do this alone. There's no reason to do it alone. So build yourself a team in advance so that when you need it, it is there for you. Tip number 4 is emotional release. There may be things because of past trauma or things where you've just repeated things so long in your mind and your emotions that they pop up. That path is so well traveled that your brain goes back and back and back and back again. That's when it is super valuable to be able to release emotions. And I'm not going to go into a lot of specifics here today, but I want to give you a general overview of like what is out there. A huge one is prayer. Once you've experienced the emotion, like asking God, just release this from me. I think we talked in the first video about inviting God into this process, because you don't have to do this alone. God is always with you. There are other physical things, somatic practices that you can do. Breath work is an amazing one. One of my favorite ones is breathing in and breathing out. You're like, of course, that's breathing, Kate. Thank you for explaining that. So glad you took a course on that. But there's a caveat, right? So I will, just to kind of cement the release, right? I will breathe in what I want, the intention of what I want, what I'm asking God for, and I exhale the thing that I have just let go, or I am in the process of letting go. So if it's anxiety, I will exhale anxiety or fear or terror, whatever you describe it as. I imagine it coming out of me, right? So I exhale fear. I inhale peace. I exhale fear. I inhale peace. And you don't have to say it out loud. You can say it in your brain. I would encourage you to exhale audibly. Not all of us are comfortable with that. I'm kind of a quiet person. You can do whatever sound. You can horsey sigh. You can breathe out fear. Sometimes that weirdness helps you to like really release it. It's kind of a physical thing. It feels kind of silly. It kind of lightens things. You can exhale. I call it a horsey sigh. Sometimes we have to do things or can choose to do things that look ludicrous, but they feel great and they help us to release it. Neurolinguistic psychology has a lot of amazing techniques that I can use with clients. It takes a little bit of walking through, and so I can't necessarily do that here right now, but can bring a tremendous amount of peace and freedom. There are a number of physical things that we can do. Exercising can be one. Intuitive yoga is another. I know not everyone loves yoga. I use yoga as a series of stretches, and it's helped me a lot. I don't use yoga as a spiritual practice. Personally, I see it as stretching. I know there are some types of yoga that they use as a Christian meditation as well. I use it as a stretching and a releasing. Not that I don't invite God into the process. I invite God into all of my coaching, all of my emotional release, because I don't want to do it apart from God, because I am a believer. So we started off at the beginning in video number 1. Recognizing the buffers and skipping them. I know that's a big ask, but I believe that you can do it. You wouldn't be here if you couldn't. If you are struggling in that area, set up a consult call with me and see what coaching can do to help you. Allowing the emotion. Again, sounds simple. It takes some discipline. It takes some guts. Again, you can do this. I know you can. Riding the wave. And we talked about that today. Realizing it's not going to last forever. It will peak and then it will go down. And usually the peak is not as high as what we are afraid it will be. And then releasing through prayer, through breath work, through movement, neurolinguistic psychology techniques. If you're like, I'll always be controlled by my emotions. If you choose to, if you choose to do the work and to be brave and experience them, I believe that you can absolutely experience a much greater level of freedom, of peace, of confidence in yourself, knowing, hey, I can feel these things and I can let them go and I can move on with my life in a more positive space with more energy, being more focused because you're not distracted trying to run this way and that from the emotions. I did it for a long time. It's tiring. It takes a lot of focus to run from something when it's probably much easier to allow it. So I hope this was amazing for you. Go ahead and join my newsletter and subscribe to this channel. All that info is in the show description. Thank you for joining me today. Again, give yourself a pat on the back for exploring this. And if you want to work more deeply with a coach, there are links in the show notes as well. Take care.